Hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and update 22.12 is here and it has brought a ton of changes and new additions. So first up, all the Warframe and weapon changes that I already talked about in another dev workshop video that I released earlier this week are now live. And I'm not even going to attempt to cover these because they've tweaked a lot of Warframes and they've buffed over 100 weapons. The standout for me here is definitely Atlas with his new rubble mechanic, where whenever you kill a petrified enemy, they will drop rubble on the ground which you can pick up to either heal yourself or, if you're at full health, temporarily boost your armor. This is incredibly cool because number one, you can actually see the rubble piling up on Atlas as you keep picking it up, which is awesome. And number two, the one thing holding Atlas back in high level missions was his inability to heal himself, and that's now fixed. They've also changed Petrify, so it's no longer a channeled ability and it's pretty much instant, and Landslide now does double damage to petrified enemies. And that's pretty much all I'm going to talk about when it comes to the Warframe and weapon changes, because I don't really want this video to be 3 hours long. Next up is the addition of Grand Theft Dargan into the plains of Eidolon, so you can now randomly find Dargan, which are the little greener combat vehicles parked around the plains, and you can jump into them and fly around. That is, of course, if you manage to find them, because I've been running around the plains the entire day today and I only found them once. And when I finally did, I didn't know how to get in and accidentally blew them up with Iron Skin. I honestly hope there is something going on with the spawn rates, because if they're supposed to be this rare, then what's the point? You know, most people already forgot about them because they can't find them, because everyone I talk to is like, yeah, they're super rare, you'll find them like once a day. Then they went over a lot of weapons and adjusted their sound, so the more anemic sounding weapons now have a bit of punch to them. Let's just listen to, for example, the Boltor Prime. I'm a big fan of this one. I think this one turned out particularly good. They also adjusted a lot of base values on the original Arcanes, and they're going to be moving them from raids, which will be retiring for an unknown amount of time, over to the plains. Though I have no idea when it's happening or if it already happened, because I can't find it anywhere in the patch notes. Then there are some pretty interesting changes to the index. So first of all, they reduced the speed at which enemies scale by half, and they made it so that you can pretty much play it like an endless mission. So each difficulty of the index has a set amount of points you need to score, and if you score those points, you will instantly receive the credit reward if you are winning at the same time as you cash those points. This is really intriguing because what you can do now is put together a super squad for the index and farm a stupid amount of credits pretty fast. The Soma cohort has received a couple of changes as well, though they're nothing to write home about. They just changed the vertical volume slider to be a horizontal one, and they've added a couple of extra options when it comes to looping songs. Then there's a bunch of smaller changes as well, like your operator being able to interact with pets. They increased the amount of lures allowed at once from 6 to 8, and if you destroy a lure in a Grenier camp and you don't hack it, it will be destroyed when that camp gets deactivated or unloaded, I suppose, to free up space for more lures to spawn. And this, I think, is a direct response to the 2 new Eidolons requiring 3 lures to capture rather than just 2. And speaking about Eidolons, they finally added sort of an LFG bounty to Konzu. So if you go to Konzu during the night, you will see 2 new bounties. One of them is for the Terrorist, and the other one contains all 3 of them. So the Terrorist, the Guntalist, and the Hydrolist, which are the 2 new ones. Now these new Eidolons are, well, quite something. They are much more difficult than the Terrorist. They have 6 joints rather than 4, which is why you need 3 lures instead of just 2. And they're just much bigger, they do more damage, they're far more chaotic. I still have no idea what's going on with these, even though I already killed the Guntalist twice. And if you're not running a meta setup, there's a pretty good chance you're gonna run out of time before you can take all of them down in a single night. Though this is obviously not going to be an issue forever as people figure out how to fight them effectively. The reason why you might not make it is because you first have to capture the Terrorist, which will drop brilliant shards. Everyone then has to go to the middle of the big lake in front of Cetus and place their brilliant shard on top of a new Eidolon shrine that's been added with the newest update, which will spawn the Guntalist. You then have to capture the Guntalist, which takes a while on its own because he has 6 joints rather than just 4, and is generally more chaotic with a ton of AoE flying around, which will drop radiant shards. And as you might have figured out already, you then have to take those shards, put them on the shrine, and that will spawn the Hydrolist, who also has 6 joints and is even more chaotic than the Guntalist. That is, of course, if you don't fail to capture them in the first place, because especially in the case of the Guntalist, those beams of lights that you see, those do an insane amount of damage, and if you're the person that's taking care of the lures and you get downed in one of these and the lures fly in, it will devour them before you can get back up. Also, the two new joints are kind of like next to their shoulder blade, so they're pretty hard to hit, which is why I was running on my Iron Skin Rhino instead of my Raw Rhino, so I could stand underneath him and shoot up. It's just a complete and utter mess. I have this wonderful clip from my first Guntalist attempt where I got caught in one of the pillars of light and all my lures died, so I had to go out to get more. And you can see the boss just going absolutely bonkers in the background. But are they worth it? Because if they're not, people are just gonna stick to the terror list. And yes, they are, because you get an insane amount of cores and shards by just killing the bosses as they are. But you can also get the articula of one of the Eidolons, which is a pretty sizable decoration for your landing craft. The Hydralist will also drop a Riven Transmuter, which will allow you to transmute 4 different Rivens into a new one, and it supposedly drops the Arcanes you would originally get from raids. But once again, I wasn't able to find anything in the patch notes, and I don't do raids, so I have no idea what's going on with that. All I see is basically just people freaking out over the removal of raids. I didn't even watch the dev stream or whatever it was where they announced it. Also, some people said that they got the event/mods as a reward as well. And that's pretty much it for the video, so I thank you very much for watching. As always, I will leave a link to the full forum thread in the description down below, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.